Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and we're live, right? We're live. Yes, no, maybe. Maybe. Here we are, folks. And the coffee's a little tepid. It's a little tepid, but I'm going to put up with it. Well, it is officially late. It's 9:02 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you guys are here at the b.hive for Apocalypse Humpday, the zombie saga. And we are going through my novel, Zechariah 14:12, Humanity's Last Stand. We are on chapter 11 now. And what else we got going on? Well, that's pretty much what we got going on. So, but yeah, we are cruising through the zombie apocalypse, and I've been trying to come up with some neat ideas to add to our hump day, and I've confirmed it. I've got Sergeant Jim West, retired from the Army, and he will be joining us next Wednesday, and he is a very experienced combat vet, and he will be sharing some of his insight on the zombie apocalypse and how the government would respond to something like that. Hola, Kevin. Thanks for joining me, man. It's good to see you tonight. I am a little more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this evening than I was yesterday. I was a mess. I don't even really remember too much about what I did on Tunes for Tuesday. So I watched the video though, and I go, oh, I look like I'm sleeping through it. But yeah. So, but you guys seem to appreciate it, so I appreciate that. So I did what I came here to do, right? So anyway, when we last were in Zechariah 14:12, we had looked in on Len and the girls, and their neighbors in the schoolhouse were being attacked by a horde of the undead, and they weren't doing too well. And then somebody from over there came over to their hiding spot and tried breaking in. Well, he did break in, and he kind of messed up Len pretty good in the stomach with a sledgehammer and terrorized the girls, but Len got him in the end. So, and we are going to join Kris Emerson, his wife, and the mother of the 2 children, and she is holed up at Hal Iverson's house. And when we last were with them, she had her leg sawed off because she had been bitten, and they were holding the virus off with a tourniquet, antibiotics. But it kept crawling up her leg, so they sawed it off with a reciprocating saw, and they cauterized her wound with a stove coil that they had heated up nice and orange and hot. So we will be joining them to see how she fared through that with Chapter 11. So if you all are ready, we are all going to jump in on this now to Chapter 11. And hopefully Chuck shows up and brings his badgers, because we always need some badgers through this apocalypse. I don't feel safe without them. And here we go. Chapter 11. It was summer. Kris was dressed in her hospital scrubs, dreading another beautiful summer day while she is cooped up inside with the sick and the injured. Len was in the kitchen preparing what he calls Len burgers for the grill, while Lee and Catherine were playing with the neighbor kids in the backyard. She could smell the coals burning with the little Weber grill they had, the scent of a fresh-cut lawn from next door, the aroma of lilac bushes. Oh, how she wanted to stay home today. She grabbed her ID badge and leaned over to give Len a kiss. Have fun with the kids, you lucky bastard, she teased, landing a kiss on his mouth. I will, babe, he says with that smile out to the corner of his mouth. She slaps his ass and is about to go outside to say goodbye to the kids when she stops in sheer terror. Len, she spoke quietly. Len! What is it? He turned around and his jaw dropped. Lee and Catherine were playing in the backyard. They had a makeshift teepee they had made out of an old sheet. They were with the neighbors' kids, Paige and Cole. Their faces, painted like Native Americans, whittling sticks with steak knives to make arrows. They were completely oblivious to the group of undead walking towards them from the north. Len grabbed a shotgun. I'll take care of this, honey. Suddenly, Len wasn't Len anymore. He was now Brent, dressed in Len's clothes. Get back in the house, guys, he spoke loudly to them, aiming a shotgun at the group of 8 that were coming for the kids. The kids ran into the house and got behind her, holding tight to her shirt and pant legs. The Len Brent person blasted 2 of them in the head and was walking backwards into the house. When he got in, he nonchalantly closed the back door and locked it. Guess the Brent burgers will have to wait, he said with a smile. What the hell is going on here? She thought to herself. This isn't making any sense. She felt a sharp pain on her left calf and looked down. The kids were chewing away at her leg, and she screamed and fell. Oh my God! What are you doing? She screamed at them. She looked up at Brent, and he only smiled at her. The kids gotta eat, hon. With that, he knelt beside her and began to chew a piece off of her calf. Take it easy, Kris. Brent stood over her. He looked worried and a little pale himself. Pain shot up from her leg, or what was left of it. She tried to talk but realized she had been gagged with a rubber ball and a belt. I'm sorry, Kris. Brent looked sincere. But your screaming brought on the infected. I had to gag you. She looked around. It was nighttime. All the lights were off and a couple of candles were going. Hal stood in the background holding a butcher knife and wiping sweat from his brow. He didn't look like his cool, calm, and collected self. Can you try not to scream so I can take this off? Brent asked. She nodded wearily. Her eyes were soaked with tears from the excruciating pain from her leg. She took a deep breath when Brent took off the gag. Brent immediately handed her 3 ibuprofens and a glass of water, which she gladly accepted. How long was I out? She said after a gulp. About 17 hours. She looked down at her left leg. It was gone from the knee down. There was a gauze bandage wrapped around the stump, and she could still feel the burning from the makeshift cauterizing Brent and Hal had performed. Did it work? She asked. Well, you're not trying to eat my brains or anything, and your fever's gone down considerably. It hurts like hell. I can imagine. That's why I've got to get out to the ambulance and get some morphine out of the med kit. Are you nuts? Yes, he said, walking over to the window and looking out between the boards they had put up. Hal is going to go upstairs, Brent continued. There's a balcony up there with no access from the ground. He's going to create a diversion on that side of the house while I run out to the ambulance and get what I need. Why don't we all just escape? Kris said between grit teeth. She was beginning to miss her nightmarish sleep. We could go out to the ambulance and then come around and pick up Hal. You're not in any condition to go anywhere. Besides, I feel pretty safe here. That last barrage of infected that came when you first started screaming in your sleep, they couldn't get in. And believe me, they tried pretty damn hard. We've got food here and a fireplace. The power went out about 4 hours ago, Hal added. We'll have to cook everything by fire. This also means I'll have to grab some firewood from the garage. Jesus, Kris interjected. Shouldn't we just try to make it to the next safe zone? I mean, I'm not in great shape, but at least there's better shelter. Brent shook his head. You've seen how fast the safe zones have fallen, right? I think because they're too crowded. Attracts those things. At least here we have a few people, plenty of supplies to get us through for a while. A horde of those things are less likely to go after us than a large group of people. Kris knew she was going to need more antibiotic, and she really wanted the morphine to rid herself of this pain. Fine. What can I do? She relented. I'm going to sit you by the window by the door when I go out. I want you to cover me in case anything comes back around. Are you up for it? No. Too bad. Let's go. Hal reached the top floor landing, fidgeting with his keys for the top apartment, and went inside. He kept his butcher knife at the ready. It was a one-bedroom apartment, so he didn't have to look around too much. The living area and kitchen were empty. He made a mental note to come back here to raid the kitchen for any food. He checked the bathroom and then went down the small hallway to the bedroom where the balcony was. He opened the door and the pungent odor hit him. The smell of rotting meat made his eyes water and his stomach almost emptied. Lying on the bed were his two tenants, Mary and Hank Shipton. The side of Mary's face was missing, and there was a self-inflicted gunshot wound in Hank's head. They had been dead for a couple of days and were starting to smell. He reached across Mary's corpse and took the .38 from Hank's death grip. He paused and said a small prayer over them, and then opened the double doors to the balcony. He walked outside and looked over the railing. There were more of the undead than he thought. They were scattered around the neighborhood. Some of them just standing there, others were walking around. There were about 26 in his yard alone. He raised the gun in the air and fired off two rounds. The infected started to gather towards the house, growling and reaching up to try to get at him. Hal had no idea what to say. He was never one to speak loudly. His cool, even tone was his signature on the air. This is Hal Iverson reporting live for 105.6 KFMT, Southern Minnesota's home of real classic rock. I'm coming to you from the rooftop above a chaotic mess. This News Minute live report is being brought to you by Syngenta Seed Production and your friends at the CDC. It seems a highly communicable virus is wiping out mankind, and you're hearing it first on Southern Minnesota's and Northern Iowa's home of the 30-minute free ride. Brent lifted the planks holding the door shut, looked out the window, and then nodded at Kris. Two shots rang out from the other side of the house. Where the hell did he get a gun from? Brent asked himself. The handful of infected that were in the driveway were now moving their way to the front of the house. He waited until he saw the last one disappear around the corner. You got my back? He said to Kris, who was propped up in a chair by the window. Be careful. I plan on it, he said as he quietly went out the door, shutting it behind him. Kris moved one of the planks back into place to bar the door. She then lifted the safety off her rifle and kept her eyes out for any other walking dead. Hey, Kyle. Good to see you. We got Dirty Haugen with us tonight. He was in there for more than 5 minutes, and to Kris it seemed like an hour. Finally, he came out with a wheelbarrow, and it was stacked with firewood and what looked like hockey gear. He rolled it quickly to the door and then ran to the ambulance. Before he reached the side door, two of the infected were coming from the alleyway. Brent quickly dispatched them with the bat. He listened for a moment and heard Hal's blabbering atop the balcony. What the hell? He muttered to himself as another infected came in from behind him. He swung wide and decorated the side of the ambulance with its brain and skull matter. He got into the ambulance and started it up. He backed his way to the door and grabbed everything he could grab and took it out the back door of the ambulance. Kris removed the plank and opened the door. Brent scooted the wheelbarrow inside and then grabbed the supplies he could from the back. After he blocked up the door again, he started hauling it all up into the apartment. "You doing okay?" he asked Kris. "Yeah," she answered, looking for the morphine. After he got everything into Hal's place, he pulled out 2 glass soda bottles and a can of lawnmower gas. "What are you going to do with those?" Kris asked, curious. "Going to relieve our newsman of his duties." He went up the stairs and into the top-floor apartment. He noted the food in the kitchen, too, and made his own mental note to check for more. "Hal, where you at?" Brent called out. "Hal!" "I'm coming to you live from the balcony, Brent," Hal called back, still doing his newsman routine. "It's a clear night out here in the City of Lakes, and we're rocking with 100,000 watts of The Dead straight off the studio lines for listeners in Oak Grove, Minnesota." "He's gone nuts," Brent thought to himself as he followed the sound of Hal's voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hal spoke to the groaning crowd of undead, "Woodcheck Broadcasting would like to take a patriotic moment to thank our men and women in uniform who have been sacrificing to save the lives of their fellow Americans." Hal looks into the crowd. "I see we have a few of them with us tonight," he shouts as he salutes a few military personnel who are part of the infected, hungry crowd below. "God bless you, folks. God bless you all." "Hal," Brent interrupts. "Hal, snap out of it, man." "Folks, we have a special guest with us tonight from the United States Army. Let's give a great big moan and groan for Staff Sergeant Brent Bada-Boom Falcone." "Damn it, man. I need you to chill out." "Tell us, Sergeant Falcone, how are things on the front lines?" "Hold this." Brent hands him a Molotov cocktail. Hal's eyes light up as Brent lights the washcloth sticking out of the top of the soda bottle. The washcloth has a faded yellow duck on it. He and Melanie used that, the very same washcloth, to give their daughter a bath when she was a baby. A tear leaked from the corner of his eye and left a clean streak down his cheek. "Throw it, Hal," Brent urged him. "Throw it?" Hal came back to reality. "Yeah, hurry, buddy, or it's going to get real warm real quick." Hal tossed it over the railing of the balcony. It smashed on the head of Albert Knox, Hal's neighbor from a block down. He was a retired lawyer, a Sunday Christian, who never had a nice word to say to anyone outside of church. He got infected while mowing his lawn. Now his head was doused with ignited gasoline, as was the heads and torsos of those around him. "I've got 3 more, Hal," Brent said, putting another one in his hand. 3 more plumes of flames exploded in the crowd of undead. They only rocked back and forth until the virus inside them exploded from the heat, and then they fell. "That ought to hold them off for a while, huh?" Brent said to the sobering Hal. "Yep." "I see there's food up here," Brent says, leading Hal back inside. The smell of burning infected flesh was overwhelming. "Oh, yeah. I never thought about it, but the basement apartment probably has food there, too. Come to think of it, one of my renters also had a ham radio set up in the attic. We could..." "Booyah!" Brent snapped. "We can try to reach the safe zones." "I'll get on the radio and see what I can pick up," Hal said with a little more hope in his voice. "Sounds good. I'm going to check on Kris, and then you and I can grab the supplies from the apartments." "All right." Brent grabbed Hal's arm. "You going to be okay, buddy?" "I don't know, but I'm good for now." Good enough, he thought to himself, and patted Hal on the arm, and then went downstairs to check on Kris. All right, folks, that's all we got for tonight. That's chapter 11. It's hard to get out of that southern drawl thing. and then carry it around with you for the rest of the day. So yeah. Anyway, that is what's going on now in the zombie apocalypse of my Earth that I created. Makes me a godlike being, kind of. So anyway, join me next week. We're going to be checking in on the president who's flying around in Air Force One that is running dangerously low on fuel. And they're going to try to get a hold of a fuel tanker. Also, the president needs to decide what to do about these falling safe zones in the cities. Yeah. So, some excitement for next week. Also, Sergeant Jim West going to be joining me next week, my hunting buddy and good friend from high school. And we are going to be talking about how he feels the Army response would be for the zombie apocalypse. And also, he and I, when we were younger, we used to talk about, well, even at this age, talk about what we would do and what our plans would be if shit hit the fan. And so, yeah. So we'll be talking about that kind of stuff, and then we'll get into chapter 12. So, a lot of cool things happening. I downloaded the software for doing some streaming stuff. I'll be able to do like multi-streaming with other people, and we'll be doing that next week with Jim. And also, I want to do some more of that streaming with other people and do things remotely and other things like that. And the only way I've been able to do that for YouTube or anybody else, they want you to have about 5,000, 10,000 subscribers. I'm not there. I'm at 28 on YouTube, I think. And on this page, I've only got I've got about 400 some odd subscriptions on the b.hive page, which is a pretty good number, but it's not going to get me any points as far as being able to do more with this streaming podcasty thing that I'm doing here. So, so the only thing I can do is use software to do it. So, so yeah, I'm going to be doing that. It's a pretty cheap monthly rate. And, yeah, so if I can create better content for you guys, why not, right? So anyhow, I appreciate you guys coming out. I will see you guys next week. Again, Tunes for Tuesday next week. We're going to just do a free-for-all again. And then Apocalypse Humpday, of course. I'm going to try to do what's happening at the b.hive probably Friday night this week. So I will put something up here as a reminder for you guys if you guys want to tune in for that. That actually is one of my more popular little podcasty things that I do. I don't know why, but whatever. It's cool. It's very cool. So, hey, thank you, Kevin. Thanks for stopping out, man, and I appreciate it. I see we've got some Florida sunshine out here. It's been a really awesome week weather-wise out here, so I don't mind working outside. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be a different story. Temps are supposed to drop and rain and wind and all that stuff, so we'll see what happens. Anyhow, so no future gigs coming up for me that I know about, other than doing music in the park in Winthrop this is coming August. Yeah, so there's a bunch of other things going on, but I think that's something I'll cover with Friday night's Buzz at the b.hive. So, hey, thank you, Linda. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you enjoy it. So, yeah, and also I'm still working on recording my books. So I'm doing my first book is Midnight Snacks. So that is being recorded now, and I'll turn that in. That'll become an audiobook, and then it will be available on Audible that way. So, yeah, it's all kinds of groovy stuff going on. Yeah, you better stay down there a little longer. But when you do come up here, Kevin, you need to let me know. So we got to get together. I miss the shit out of you, buddy. Um, I got to go check and make sure my bike's running. So, it never got cold enough for me to put stabilizer in there. So, yeah, it's anybody's guess if that thing's going to start. And I should probably put tabs on it. You know, they kind of frown on it when you drive around without tabs. Anyhow, okay, folks, I will see you guys later. Have a great night. Thanks again for stopping by. Thank you all for your support. I'm overwhelmed with your guys' feedback, and just seeing you here means a lot to me. So yeah, damn cops, Kevin. Kevin was a cop, by the way, everybody, in case you didn't know. Anyhow, yes, have a great night, everybody. Peace out, and yeah, watch your back. There's zombies out there. I've seen them around. Have a good night. Bye.